So, if you've clicked on this video, you've likely already seen the animations of a creator online called Imperial. He has this really distinctive style which uses a lot of reds and blacks. Today, I want to show you how to animate one of the 2D sections from his video. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to recreate this kind of texture for the terrain that he has here. So to do that, I'm going to go over to a website that I frequently use called MapBox. Now I have a standalone tutorial on how to make these MapBox map styles, but as some of my subscribers recently pointed out, they've recently revamped the website. So I'm just going to do a quick rehash on that. So we're going to come over here to New Style, and then we're going to select Start from Scratch. Go through, and then we're going to set the projection to Mercator. Then is what we're going to do is we're going to come over to this plus icon. We're going to go to Components, and we're going to select Land and Water. So we have that there. We're going to open these up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to shy away every single layer except the specifically labeled land and water ones. Now that we've done that, we have just the land and the water colours here. So we're going to change their colour to a sort of a dark red. And then we're going to make sure to copy that over so we're using the exact same coloration for both the land and the water. Land, you have to do it on 2 different zoom levels. And there you see we just have this red world here. And then is what we're going to do is we're going to come back over to add a new layer. We're going to go custom layer. And then we're going to come down to MapBox Terrain DEMV1. We're going to add that there. Now you see we have that in white. And then we're just going to change this highlight color to black as well. So you see we have this global terrain texture over the whole globe. Then finally, the last thing we're going to do in MapBox is we're going to come over to Publish. Hit Publish again, Share, we're going to go Third Party, Carto, and we're going to take this link and we're going to use this once we're over in GeoLayers within After Effects. So let's go open that up. So here we are now within After Effects. We're going to have the GeoLayers panel open here. We're going to do Create Map Comp, and then we're going to hit this plus icon down there. And it's what you're going to do is you're going to take that link and you're going to drop it in here. Now I won't do it because I've already done this. And you're going to set the max zoom to 23 and then you'll hit apply. So I have that there, the terrain map comp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit create. And here we go, we have this terrain map comp. Now that we have this terrain map comp, let's just rename it so we're not going to lose track of it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create another composition. We're going to make sure that it's linked to that terrain map comp. And we're going to come over here to light. I'm going to click on it once and then click on it again. And we're going to turn off everything except ocean. And what this is going to allow us to do is essentially to mask out the ocean, revealing the alpha layer underneath. So I'm just going to come up to water and I'm just going to change the color of it as well to a similar dark red color like that. We're going to hit apply and then create. Let's come over here and turn that off as well. Now that we have this, what we want to do is we want to remove this lighter red color from the terrain map comp so that it only reveals that terrain texture. So to do this, we're going to use an effect called Key Light, and then we're going to take this eyedropper tool and we're going to select that light red color. And there we go, you see if we zoom in, we're left with just this terrain texture. So now, let's zoom in on the part of the world that Imperial was focusing on, which is around Cyprus here. So we're going to go onto the GeoLayers map comp, and we're going to zoom in there. And then we're going to hit finalize. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a track mat off this ocean layer above to basically remove anything on the terrain layer that is within the ocean territory. So we're just going to do that, and then we're going to hit invert. And there we go, we're left with our terrain with a gap underneath. Now we're going to apply an invert effect to the map comp. So you see it's white, you can't really see it there, but if I turn off the alpha layer, we're now starting to see our map being built out. Now, over on the Imperial thing, he has these grid lines here. So what we're going to use is we're going to use an effect which I believe was created by Boone over on the channel Boone Loves Video, called Repeating Lines. So we're just going to click that there, And you see we have this sort of grid pattern here. So we're just going to drop the width down, set this to about 2. So we have these nice thin lines there. But then we want to set the gap up to about, where are we? 175. There we have these nice big gaps. We're going to extend the length of these, and we're going to extend the number of copies as well until it extends beyond the animation. There we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that, and then on this second one, we're going to set a rotation to 90 degrees. So there we go, and we'll extend the length again so that this continues off grid. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move these under both the map comps, and then we're going to pick whip the track matte to that ocean removal layer as well. And there you'll see it's cut away, and we're only seeing it underneath the ocean, not underneath the land. And then lastly, we're just going to make these 3-dimensional objects, and we're going to pick whip them to the terrain map comp anchor so that they move with the map. So now we have our map. So what we're going to do next is we're going to highlight some countries similar to what Imperial has done here. So we're going to go over into the GeoLayers panel, and we're going to select Egypt. And then on the style, we're going to make sure that we've only got a border here, and we're going to draw that out. Now, he uses a coloration on his that's sort of not quite a dark red, but more of a light pinkish. So I believe that's FF4F4F, gives this kind of light pink style. Now, I have a paid plugin effect called Deep Glow, which I'm going to apply to this because I think it gives a much, much nicer effect than the inbuilt After Effects glow effect. But you can, of course, use that as well. If you want to pick this up for yourself, I've got an affiliate link down in the comments as well. So here we have Egypt glowing, and then I'm also going to add Syria as well. Going to take that color, copy it, paste it onto Syria, and add the deep glow effect as well. And then lastly, we're just going to fill in the port of Said in a solid color because that's what Imperial has done. So we're going to come up to style there, select that, draw it on, and just make sure the coloration is the same and apply that same deep glow effect. And then you see that these are kind of quite sat on top of the map and you can't really see any of the texture underneath it. What we're going to do next is we're going to take all of these and we're going to change the blend mode to overlay. And that's going to give some of this terrain underneath, allow that to come through a bit more. Next, in the Imperial video, he has this dashed line coming along the coast with a boat and going from Egypt to Syria. So I'm just going to take my pen tool and I'm going to draw that on. Make sure that Rota Bezier is selected so that you get a nice curve to it. But we're going to have that come along the coast there and go up. Let's turn off the fill. And we're going to change the color just to a slightly off-white. Now, you'll see that it's just a bit of a solid line. So I think this would look a lot nicer as a dash. So we're going to come over to the shape layer. And then we're going to do a stroke. And we're going to add a dash there. And we're going to probably bump these up. I think that looks about right. Now, again, it's still missing a certain something from the Imperial video. It's this very sort of blocky, solid line. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a roughen edges effect to this. It's going to give it a bit of texture. Now it looks quite blobby there. So what I want to do is I want to bump down the scale slightly. Let's take it to about 60. And then where you really get to that nice kind of chalky texture in is when you bump up the complexity. So let's maybe put this to about 8. There we go. That looks really nice. Now there's one last thing which Imperial does to really bring this to life, and that's to add a grunge texture to this. So there's some good free ones that you can just go and pull off YouTube if you want to do it nice, cheap and easy. I have a collection from a company called Mr. Horse, saved locally to my computer. So I'm just going to drop one of these in. There we go, let's add that. So here we have this grunge texture. Now you see it's quite short, so to get it to loop out, I'm just going to come up to time, enable time remapping. And then I'm just going to do edit expression And then I'm going to do the loop out thing there. And there, that should make it loop indefinitely. And just extend that all the way along. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit S. I'm going to shrink this down so that it covers my line there. And I'm going to take the line, take that track matte again, and set this as an inverted alpha. So you'll see you have the all the white, but then just where this grunge effect appears, you can kind of see through to the black underneath. And as we did with a bunch of stuff earlier, let's make these 3D and let's pick whip them to the terrain anchor. Now I'm just going to call this dashed line. And what we're going to do is at the start of our animation, we're just going to apply a trim path to this. So if we come up, do trim path, drop this down to 0, turn on the little stopwatch. Let's make it about 6 seconds, put it up to 100. And I'm just going to do a slight easy ease on this as well, just so that it's got sort of a nice movement to it.
One important step which I forgot to add is that you'll need to pre-compose the grunge texture and the dashed line, otherwise the roughen edges effect which we added, when we move the map later, will end up with a strange warping effect as it moves.
So now we have this dashed line drawing on, but I think the next thing we're going to want is we're going to want a boat basically following along this line. So I'm going to come over to Google and I'm just going to do find an image there. This one of a rib, that's quite good. So we're just going to do save image as, make sure you're saving it as a PNG. Going to drop this in. There we go. So we're going to scale it down to the appropriate size. We're going to apply a tint effect to it. We're going to take that pink colour from earlier and we're going to apply that tint effect to it there. Actually, let's put that on the whites there. So we have this nice kind of boat with the same pink tint as everything else, and we're going to put that same deep glow effect on it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come into here, we're going to go into shape, path, and we're going to copy the path. And then we're going to hit P on the boat to bring up its position parameter. And we're going to paste that path in there. And then lastly, we just want to stretch this out so that it's at the same length as the trim path animation. So if you hold Alt and grab that, it will scale automatically and then shift and it snaps in place. And then lastly, so well, you see our boat is going to carry on along here, and then we've got one problem, it's not pointing in the direction of travel. So we're just going to come transform, auto orient, and then orient along path. And there we go. The boat is now going to follow along that animation like that. Now the last thing we need on this animation is some titles for the country. Now I believe that Imperial uses a font called Chantal, which is available on Adobe. So if you've got the Creative Cloud subscription, just Google Adobe Chantal font, and then you can come over here and it's the medium one. You just hit add font to library. So back over within After Effects, you just take the text tool, type out Egypt. We've got the font set there. Let's scale that up, put it in place, and then again 3D and parent it to the terrain anchor. And then we're going to do the same again, and rename this to Syria. Now if you want, you can also apply that same grunge effect to help highlight this as well. So that's starting to look pretty good. Something I'm just going to do is I'm just going to come to these line animations there, and I'm going to drop the opacity down a little bit. I think that will help it look a bit closer to what Imperial has done because they were a bit dominating. Cool, so now we have that, I'm going to start animating this within the GeoLayers panel. So we've just got to make sure that everything that needs to be is marked as 3D and is pick-width to the terrain anchor. I'm just going to mark that boat as 3D. That does have a funny effect, so let's just reorder that. There we go. Cool, that's as it's supposed to be. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit a keyframe at the start of our animation. And let's do a nice sort of angled look. So we're going to hit keyframe again. Now I want to do this in line with our animation as the dashed line draws on. So we're going to come over to the end and let's move the map over here and do a similar sort of angle there. And then we're going to hit keyframe again. And now I just want to apply an easy ease to this as well to give it a nice movement. So let's see how that looks. And there we go. If you've got any questions, please do just pop them down in the comments. And I'm also selling my map animations, so if you've got any projects that you want to discuss, then there's a Google form in the description. Thanks.